Cross your fingers.
I'll check YouTube on my phone to see if I can.
Okay.
We are live.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Let me mute this. All right.
All set?
Yeah. Can everyone see the, make sure everyone can see the PowerPoint here?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Okay. So it is 6 o'clock. We do have a quorum present of the Plan Commission. So I am going to call the meeting to order, and I will ask for a quick roll call.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Devine.
Here.
Wayne Clark.
Yes.
Eric Torkelson.
Present.
Brian Frank.
Here.
Rossi Menka.
Here.
It's 4 present, and then there are another 4 excused. I guess technically I should read them. John Keckeisen, Kathleen Dagenhart, Amanda Nowak, David Roshka, and Ben Holt are excused.
Okay. So we have a quorum.
Yes.
Excuse me. Item C will be approval of the minutes for our meeting on December 2nd.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Was the second by Brian?
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay.
I'll get you next time, Wayne.
Wayne will have plenty of those, I can guarantee. He's always on the ball. If there are no changes or adjustments to the minutes, then all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We will move on to item D, which is new and previous matters. Item 2A and 2B.
Mayor, this is going to be presented by Tony Giron, our planner,
Okay.
Flower Girl and Flame, a new
Thank you, Steve.
restaurant.
Thank you, Mayor. So this first item is for a proposed restaurant and limited food production business called Flower Girl and Flame. It'll be within the C2 neighborhood commercial district, which is these 2 uses are a special use in C2. It'll go up for public hearing next week on Tuesday, February 2nd. Next slide, please. So Flower Girl and Flame is a business. It's a woman-owned business that is a mobile wood-fired pizza oven. So they're going to use this space to prepare ingredients for this mobile wood-fired pizza oven and also sell take and bake pizzas from the space. They also do event catering in case you're interested. They will be open to the public Wednesday through Sunday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. They'll have at least 2 employees during retail hours and up to 6 employees during events. Their long-term goals for this space is to be able to program the the railroad park just to the west of the space. They plan to have different gardening events and grow a lot of their spices and herbs for their pizzas in that park. Here's a look at their first floor interior plans. So they plan to outfit the majority of the space with a kitchen. They're not going to have any seating in there. It's just going to be a space for you to order to pick up your orders that you make online or via their app. And if we take a look at the next slide, we'll see that they're going to use their basement for just general storage with they hope to have a walk-in cooler in the back. So their parking situation is a little funny. They have 3 parking stalls that are going to be reserved for employees in the back. As you see, the concrete slab goes a little bit over the line, which is actually railroad property. So though they've indicated that there is an agreement between the property owner and the railroad company, we would like to see an easement just to make sure that there is an agreement between the two. And staff believes that there is sufficient parking for the takeout component of the business. There's plenty of parking along National Avenue. Looks like 2 to 3 spots right in front of the business, and then a little bit more up the street and plenty across the street. Well, they didn't submit too much for in terms of architectural plans. They don't plan on making any updates, but staff believes that no updates are necessary, and the tenant and the property owner will maintain the little bit of landscaping that does exist on the property, which is just that narrow strip of grass. We're asking to see a four-sided refuse enclosure on their plans. Next slide, please. So staff recommends approval subject to the four-sided refuse enclosure and also a confirmation of that easement agreement with the railroad. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Are there any questions from the commission on item 2A, 2B? Is anyone talking and muted?
I would make a motion to approve staff recommendations, Mayor Devine.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion and a second by Rossi.
Mhm.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, Dana. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana and Dana. Good to see you guys. We'll go on to item 3. Turn it over to staff.
Okay. There we go. Thanks, Mayor. Katie Bennett is our lead planner, is going to be presenting 3 and 4.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so item 3 is a certified survey map for the what is currently Office Max parcel with the new Aspen Dental being built on the outlot. As part of the approval for the Aspen Dental site landscape and architectural plans, they had to get a CSM to divide the property into 2 separate parcels. So they will have their own parcel and address for Aspen Dental at 10757 West Cleveland. Yeah, that's pretty much that. You can see the division on the lower image.
Thank you. Oh, there we go.
And staff does recommend approval of this CSM subject to 2 items. One, there's a special assessment balance that needs to be paid on the property prior to the recording of the survey. And there's a couple edits from our engineering staff that the applicant is working on getting completed as well.
Okay, that concludes item 3. Were there any questions from the Plan Commission? If there are no questions, does anybody care to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Brian Frank and a second by Eric Torkelson. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. We'll move on to item 4.
So item 4 is the same parcel, looking at the Aspen Dental property portion of it. And this is for a sign plan appeal. Currently, this site is permitted to have 1 freestanding sign and 2 wall signs with a maximum combined total of 125 square feet. As part of the site landscape approval for the Aspen Dental project, the existing Office Max sign was a part of that plan and is remaining on site. And so that, according to our records, is 80 square feet, which leaves 45 square feet remaining for new signage for Aspen Dental. The proposal that came before staff was for 2 wall signs at 60.6 square feet each, which is over that 45 square foot allowance that's remaining, which exceeds the code by a total of 76.2 square feet. And you can see from the images, the signage is proposed to be on Cleveland Avenue and on Highway 100, kind of on either side of that freestanding non-conforming sign. So when looking at sign variances, the factors that we typically consider are if there will be an undue concentration of signage, if the signage is of some unique or exceptional design, has a lot of historical value, that sort of thing, or if there are specific difficulties at the site that prevent it from being seen from the street front were it to follow code. And when staff reviewed this, our conclusion was that, we do believe that it is an undue concentration of signage, having 3 signs that closely concentrated on that corner, and being 76 square feet over what is typically permitted on any other similar site. And it does not, the design quality is fine. But there's nothing exceptional or unique about it. And, as you can see, there's nothing blocking visibility from the street. There's a clear facade and vision from the road for both sides of that building.
Mayor,
Yes, Wayne.
thank you. This subject was looked at carefully when the original plan was put forth. That is, with that absolute ugly Office Max pole sign now so highly visible on that corner. We did not make any progress in getting the owner to be able to get rid of that, because I guess Office Max insists on keeping it. Therefore, I would move denial.
Okay, there's a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Manka. Is there any discussion?
There is Fred Finch and Don Numerodor are here representing Aspen.
If they'd like to speak on the item, I'd give them a minute or two.
Fred, I don't know if you're muted, but we can't hear you. Nope, we don't hear you.
All right, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep.
Now we can.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
My name is Fred Finch with Chandler Signs, and I'm Aspen Dental's national sign vendor. Just like to, we're asking for relief on the signs, primarily because we've been working with the city since August on this sign package for this building. And we weren't told anything about this Aspen Dental sign counting against our signage until the permits were applied for last month. I know we had sent some information to Steve and Katie in August, and we were told the only adverse effect that pole sign would have would be that we could not have a freestanding sign until that one was gone, and that we would be entitled to 125 square feet. This variance tonight is we're not asking for anything more than what we think we're allowed or should be allowed due to the code. I don't know, looking at the comments, I don't know when the plan commissioner made his deal with the landlord to allow that to be a off-premise, non-conforming sign. But we were never relayed that information. And now, here we are in this situation. They're getting ready to open in about 6 weeks. And we don't have any signs on the building, and we don't know what we can put on the building.
Steve, if you go to the next slide. So what I suggested and recommended to the sign team is that they apply for 145 square foot sign, which we could immediately approve because it does conform to code. And then, should they wish to have a second sign, they can apply for a variance for a second sign for 45 square feet. And Plan Commission, I guess, could take that into consideration separately, should they choose to wish to allow them to have more signage than the code allows for. But we do think that signs at 45 square feet, there's two similar buildings shown here that are similar footprints, and their signs are both within that range, both close to the street front, both along Highway 100, and they are fitting for those buildings. So that's sort of how staff has directed their team. But the application that came before me was for 260 square feet signs.
Would you be, I mean, if we did something like the Stratton Optical, because we're on a corner lot as well, if we could go with 245 square foot signs over the 260s, would that be applicable or acceptable?
So you could apply for a 45 square foot sign and get approval immediately, or assuming it complies with the rest of the code. That would not require a variance through Plan Commission. That would just require the typical sign permit approval process through staff. And then the second one is the one that would need to be applied for a variance because it would be exceeding the code. And that would be up to Plan Commission, not to staff.
Hi, it's Brian here. Because it's two different addresses, is there a certain address gets a certain amount of signage? Would that be the variance for here?
So it's per parcel is how the signage is allotted. So that sign, and we can't regulate the content of the sign. That sign could say whatever it wants to say, but it is on that site.
And then if we were to do a variance, would that come next month for the next planning commission meeting? Is that how fast or soon that would be?
For the second 45-foot sign?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's how I understand it, but unless staff wants to correct me.
With the, I guess the direction of the Planning Commission tonight, would the Plan Commission prefer to just move ahead with the additional 45 square foot sign, or would the preference be to just approve one? I guess the staff can approve one sign, 145 square foot sign for Aspen Dental through the permit process. But then would the preference of Planning Commission be to offer an appeal to Aspen Dental for an additional 45 square foot sign, or to come back to the Planning Commission next month with that appeal?
I would suggest having Aspen Dental come back next month for the additional sign. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. We have to get rid of that in some fashion.
Correct. Can whoever's controlling the presentation, could they go back one slide to the facade in question?
Sure.
Just so we can look at. So we could approve, or we don't have to approve 145-foot sign.
No.
And I don't know, Mr. Fitt, if you'd have a preference on which sign would be up first at the potential of not having a second one approved. I don't know if that would be facing Highway 100 or facing Cleveland.
Yeah, we'll approve. Staff can approve one 45 square foot sign, administratively for Aspen Dental on whichever facade it wants, Cleveland Avenue or Highway 100, or any other facade for that. But one sign at 45, and then what I'm hearing is that Plan Commission would recommend or would prefer that Aspen come back with a separate appeal for an additional 45 square foot sign
Next month.
or another facade. So the total of two wall signs in the
Would
end.
we not get a conditional approval or work it with conditions? I mean, when I come back at the end of February, they're going to open about a week later. I mean, if we could, come up with and meet the commissions of this commission, or meet the this what's required, supply that paperwork and everything and get it approved, then we would be able to put signs on this business before they open. Like I said, we've had this sign package laid out with city approval since August. And then when we applied for the formal permits, we were denied and told all of this. This is catching all of us off blindsided as well.
Well, what we have before us right now is a motion to deny, and that's been seconded. So do we want to take care of that and then figure out the next step? Or do we want to amend that motion to try to get something closer to what's being sought after by the applicant?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest we withdraw the motion and the second regarding the denial as step one.
Okay, so as the maker of the motion, will you rescind your motion, Wayne?
Yes.
And Rossi, you'll rescind your second?
Yes.
Okay, so we're back to zero. Does anybody want to craft a new motion from the commission?
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, since the plan department can approve 145 square foot sign, let them go ahead and do that and proceed with the appeal for next month for the second sign. So we can
Steve,
know what we're talking about.
sorry, Steve, do you know, based on what was on our agenda tonight, can that be amended to accommodate the second 45-foot sign, or does that have to be a separate complete application?
Well, I mean, they did apply for 2 60 square foot signs. I mean, that was their choice.
So the commission can't propose an amendment to change the 2 60-foot signs to a 145-foot sign?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And if needed, I think in this virtual world, we could always try to do a special plan commission meeting in a couple of weeks if the commission has availability to just accommodate. At least the folks at Aspen Dental will know where they're going and what the direction is before they open in February or March. So we could tentatively try to do something, early to mid-February and expedite the process a little bit, possibly.
Sure.
Get all the information to you, to the planning commission.
Okay. So back to the motion on this item, then I'm just wondering if we still want to deny it then and have the new come forward.
I would suggest I don't think there's any need to deny. I think it's a matter now that
Just place it on file.
the applicant will meet with the plan department, and plan department will authorize the one sign, and then a case will be made by the applicant for a second sign, and we will meet virtually to deal with that whenever that comes to, whenever it's available.
And that works. I'm just curious why we want to take action, if any, on this item, or should we just place it on file?
I just place it on file.
Steve, does that sound good to you?
That's fine. Yeah, we
Okay.
noted. Sure.
So was that a motion,
Sure.
All right. If it isn't, it is now. I'm calling it for you. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. All opposed? Okay. Item 4 is placed on file, and then we will wait for the presentation then from Mr. Finch, and we'll try to get that expedited for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And now we'll move on to item.
Mayor,
Yeah, Wayne.
I may, Steve, if this information was, let me back up. Why did this information get to the applicant just now in the last, in the 11th hour, as opposed to back in August?
I'll have Katie answer that. She's been working with Aspen Dental and this entire block for the most part for quite a while.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I did not see personally a sign plan in August. That timeline does not line up with when I noticed that there was an issue. I notified them within 2 weeks of seeing the information that I had in front of me. So when I was given the sign plan permit, I reviewed it to code and, you know, looked at the totals that they were submitting in terms of their square footage. And it was over the allowable code amount with the existing sign on site. And so, I notified them pretty quickly of that.
Katie, it sounds like you acted expeditiously. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Wayne.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 5, and I'll turn it over to staff.
Tony's going to present number 5 and 6.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mayor. This next item is a rezoning sponsored by Alderperson King to rezone the property at 1436 South 92nd Street from RC2, which is a residential district, to C2, neighborhood commercial district. This falls in line with the future land use plan, and this rezoning would also match the zoning of the rest of this corridor and help set the stage for future business plans of the property owner. Staff recommends Plan Commission approval.
So move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Wayne and a second by Eric. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item 5 is approved, and we will move on to item 6.
Thank you, Mayor. This next item is for the same property. The owner also owns a home remodeling business and is proposing to replace an existing garage on the property with a new garage. The garage will be used to store vehicles and trailers, as well as building materials for his company. This will be within the proposed, now C2 neighborhood commercial district. Here's a look at the site and landscaping plan. The areas in front and behind the garage will have new concrete pads. There are existing mature trees just north of the lot, but we may need to see some more landscaping there for screening between the uses. We're going to ask for a site plan that includes the entire property. So you'll see that we're missing the commercial building just to the west or to the upper part of this image. And we also need to see if there is how there's access, the other access on this garage. So in this plan, they're proposing to have a door facing their other buildings on the property and one so on the east and west, but in this image it's to the up and down. But they recently realized that they may need to change the location of the door to be able to have access from the other side. So they're proposing to come up with new plans to have the door on the north side, so the right side of this image. And that in doing so, they would need an easement from the property to their north. Next slide, please. Here's a look at their architectural plans. So the garage doors and service door would be on both sides, though that might change. We might have another garage door and service door on a different side of the garage. It's proposed to have gray vinyl siding and white aluminum soffits. The inside of the garage will be heated either by forced air or concrete slab floor heat. Staff recommends approval subject to showing a site plan of the entire property, adding landscaping to the north side of the property if needed, and to show the access points of the garage. And in that new site plan, we'd also like to add that condition of just updating the plan to show which side the garage door will be on. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Question for Tony.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This proposal fits the new zoning. Do we have any idea of what the neighbors might think. Not that they can change anything, but is this sitting right in the middle of houses, of residential housing?
That's a good point. I believe there are residences just to the north and on the property just to the north. And there is a Alice Care Center is just to the east.
Spoke with,
So go ahead, Steve.
I spoke with the Andy Blopek, who's the new property owner, and he has reached out to property owners on all sides of him, and he had asked about an easement agreement for for access to that garage from the Alice Care Center, and they weren't keen on the idea, but however, the property owner to the north is open to the idea. So he's made connections with surrounding property owners, and we haven't heard of any objections. The building in its current condition, or the site in its current condition, needs, it's got a new owner, so there's definitely new investment that's coming along with that. And I think it's going to be a welcome change for the surrounding neighborhood. It's he's a contractor, does home remodeling, and I think it's going to be a nice welcome change for this property and the surrounding neighborhood.
Thank you. I'd move approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, Wayne with the motion and Brian with the second. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Now we will move on to item 7.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 7 is an ordinance to both, actually 7 and 8 are sort of accompanying each other, but 7 is a ordinance to amend the future land use map for properties at 6500 West Washington Avenue, 1323, South 65th, and then 1339 through 47 65th. And these are all formerly the motor castings plant on the east side of West Allis, just east of Whitnall Summit, north of the 6 Points neighborhood and Greenfield Avenue. And historically, it's been around for quite some time, dating back to the origins of the city. And it's always been the actual use has always been a heavy manufacturing plant. And more recently, this area was redesignated to light industrial. And at the same time, motor castings went out of, they're no longer in existence here at the site. In talking with the owners of the property, it sounds like they're looking to potentially demolish all of the structures, perhaps maybe keeping the one on the south, the warehouse on the south, for unknown future adaptive reuse. But we feel from the planning perspective that it's in the city's best interest to take a look at rezoning this property. And to do so, we want the zoning, we want to rezone it to a commercial C3 commercial zoning. But to do so, we have to change the underlying zoning or land use classification from industrial and office to that of commercial. And that way, the future land use map and the zoning then would be consistent going forward. Just taking a look at the land use, the motor castings property the 3 of them are along 65th Street, this light gray area here. And over here, this is the zoning map on the right. And it's basically, what we want to do is convert the map on the left to be red, to represent commercial land use, and then the same thing on the right with the rezoning to convert that as well to a commercial zone. We feel that would would at least level the playing field and maybe prevent another very heavy or manufacturing type of use coming back in, reusing either the motor castings building or tearing it down and then rebuilding, for instance, like self-storage or a contractor yard or something that would be not in the city's best interest with respect to the future vision that we have for this area. So that's my presentation. If there's any questions or you need me to clarify or elaborate anything, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Wayne.
question for Steve. Has Motor Castings made an application for demolition?
Not yet, Wayne. That has not happened yet.
When I talked to Joe Kempen, the former president, the other day, I understood that they had hoped to demolish sometime in February.
And that could happen. I mean, there have been discussions. I know Patrick Schloss, our economic development team, did speak with representatives of the ownership of the properties yesterday, and so they're aware, and they are interested in doing just what you said about demolishing the property and rethinking the future of the land.
Approval.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7 carries. We'll go on to item 8.
Thanks, Mayor. This is another proposed rezoning of a property on Highway 100 and Interstate 94. Colders is one of the properties, and the other property along the frontage of 108th Street is actually a city-owned property that provides access to not only the Hank Aaron State Trail, but also the Colders property. These are some views on the right-hand side. The top image is a view from the off-ramp, getting off the interstate, and then where it intersects with Highway 100, which is the next picture down below. And then the middle picture does show, Highway 100 looking to the north towards the zoo and Wauwatosa. And then that road on the left-hand side of that central image is underneath the sign is the city's like a service access drive that gets you down to the Hank Aaron State Trail as well as Colders. And then the lowest image, lower image on the screen here is one of the sight lines into the Colders site. So the building is below the grade of Highway 100. However, there are some lines of sight into the property from various vantage points from Highway 100 and from the bridge as you cross over I-94. There's a few views that you can see. The site is fairly well landscaped. There's a lot of tree canopy cover. And we have had a recent proposal from an interested buyer of the site, a trucking company that was interested in purchasing the site, and then adaptively reusing the existing Colders building for a truck, their corporate headquarters, as well as truck sales, repair, and storage. So that was one proposal. There was another proposal prior to that for a large sports complex, entertainment venue, a driving range of sorts. So that was of interest for a while, but that unfortunately, given the pandemic, that seems to have faded. So there have been a couple of proposals that we've at least heard of and discussed. However, the site really hasn't been marketed in the city's opinion for, this being a location, probably one of the top 5 or 10, arguably, within the metro area on an interstate at the intersection with Highway 100. Great views and just proximity and location, accessibility from pretty much anywhere in the metro area. So we feel that, given the chance to market the site appropriately, it's going to have a higher and better use. And we feel that rezoning it to commercial is going to definitely help the prospect of aligning with our city's comprehensive plan, which calls for this area to be commercial, as well as the Highway 100 study, which also had suggested that properties that front or direct proximity to Highway 100, that they be commercial in use. And that offers a more dynamic mix of uses, mixed use, hotels, entertainment destinations, medical offices, to name a few. So there's even the possibility of higher density residential within a commercial zoning district. So we feel that commercial is the best suit for this property, these two properties, and that's our recommendation to the Planning Commission this evening.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you. Yes, Wayne.
Steve, rezoning the commercial doesn't prevent a trucking operation, correct?
It does, Wayne. So the issue with that would be that there's two parts to the trucking operation. The one part that would be permitted is their corporate offices. They were talking about relocating all of their corporate offices from Milwaukee to West Allis. They love this location, obviously, given the interstate frontage. But the other part that's not allowed within the C3 or even a C4 commercial would be the trucking sales, commercial trucking sales. That requires what the current zoning is, which is a light industrial. So for that trucking headquarters and sales facility to locate here, it needs the existing zoning, which is light manufacturing. What staff is asking for, recommending, is to rezone it to C3 community commercial. That presents a problem for the trucking operation, but it does open up the possibility for a future, and if properly marketed, I think we could land a very impressive development on this location, given its position.
Well, I certainly agree with the idea of opening this up so that we might attract some high-level operation, and I'd like to do everything possible to prevent another trucking operation. I would move approval.
I second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second and we are on item 9, correct? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor, that's item number,
Do I have an old agenda?
let me make sure.
Number 9.
Item 9, yes, thank you.
Okay, did we take number 8 or were 7 and 8?
I think I believe we took them together, Mayor, and I apologize for not clarifying that, but
Okay.
we did take them together.
I knew they were similar, but then when I saw
Yep.
the Colders, and I thought we jumped ahead. Okay, so 7 and 8 were taken together. Item 9 is before us. It has a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
Okay.
And now we will move on to item 10.
Yes, item 10. We do have a supplemental item as well, but why don't we'll take the comprehensive plan first here, I guess, and then we can go to the supplemental.
Is there anybody online waiting for the supplemental?
I don't see anyone. Is anybody?
I don't think there's anybody on. I don't
Okay.
think she's going to be on.
Okay,
Okay, I was going to say we could just
sure.
let them go if they were, but okay, thanks.
So item 10 is is a comprehensive plan update to, so right now we have in 2011, the city council, planning commission and city council adopted our 2030 comprehensive plan. And by statute, state statute, we're required to update our plan at least once every 10 years. So this is what we're doing. I guess we're updating our 2030 plan, and we're making it more current, bringing some things within the just the format in general, bringing that up to current standards to meet the city's branding, as well as making some housekeeping cleanup items. So the approach we're taking here is that we're doing this initial minimal update or house cleaning update first in the first phase, and then the future phase is going to be a much larger overhaul of the overall plan. One of the reasons why we're doing that is that first off, that the timing of this unfortunately isn't really lining up with the census. While the census count has been conducted, the numbers aren't in, so to speak, and we're waiting for those numbers. We wanted to have a good demographic picture of the city before we really dive into it and analyze it more so. So that's the reason for the two-phased approach here. But we will be coming back to the Planning Commission and the Common Council, and also involving quite a bit more public engagement and stakeholders, business leaders, the public in our major overhaul that we hope to accomplish down the road. So, but for the time being, we're asking for Planning Commission's approval of the draft that we've prepared. And I apologize you haven't had it sooner. It did go out to you guys this evening, so take a look at it for it in your email inbox. There's a share drive link, and but take a look. You'll notice that the difference, I guess, between the old and the new. Again, it's more of a house cleaning update just to meet statutes. And then once we have the new census data, we'll come back and do a larger phased approach.
All right. Any questions?
So we're being asked to approve the tweaks.
Yeah, and the tweaks, Wayne, are really, it's this, so the cities, let me see if I can find you stop this share and go to,
You have it pulled up, Steve, otherwise I can.
let me do this, new share, we'll do new share here. I think I've got too many things open on my screen, unfortunately, but bear with me. This will present itself. So our 2030 plan was prepared by Grafe, and I guess the first things first. We've gone through a major rebranding effort in the city, and the old plan was littered with the old logo. So one of the first charges was to update this plan and put it into a new format with the city's branding, the color scheme, the new logos, and then more or less the intro, just more or less explaining the two-phased approach, the statutory requirements to update our plan, and the reason why we're not going full bore at this now is we're waiting for the timing of the census rollout is the issue.
Excuse me, could you just highlight a couple of things that are
Sure.
different?
Sure. So I guess all of the elements, there's various elements: neighborhoods, economic development, housing, transportation, parks and open space goals. A lot of those elements are standard. We've got a few snapshots of demographics in here. This first community profile, we changed issues and opportunities chapter to a community profile chapter where it goes over some basic demographic data as best we know right now, based on some more recent strategic planning efforts in 2010 to 2014 American Community Survey information. So that community profile section is new with some tweaks, but it's really just sort of a brief snapshot of really not a complete picture of the demographic information we hope to have. The other part that you'll probably recall is, let me just scroll down here. Within the Chapter 9 redevelopment, I'm just going to flip through this down to Chapter 9 real quick here, but there's 27 different concept areas within Chapter 9, or Chapter 9 is basically like a large redevelopment plan, so to speak. And there's been a number of areas within the city that you may take a look at this map and say, well, it's exactly the same thing that we did back in 2000 and 2011. Well, you're right. I mean, it is. These areas are the same. However, within each of these areas, there's been a number of accomplishments and updates. However, there's still work to be done. As you know, redevelopment projects quite often are very complicated, take a lot of time. So while it has been 10 years, some of these sites really there maybe hasn't been much progress, but it's still of interest. So we've kept it in there. And in other cases, we've completed a good portion of development within that area, but there's still some work to do. So Highway 100 corridor is one of those areas. Back in 2011, we were looking at that same area, that North Gateway where Colders is, and the Hobo property and Northern Tool, all of that. And we were envisioning, hotels, mixed use, different things. But, since then we've had a Highway 100 study, which has helped catalyze a lot more of those efforts. And so we've made reference to the Highway 100 study, also our National Avenue Corridor study, different concept areas here with Zignago. There's been some progress in that area to change the zoning to heavy manufacturing, and with the Zignago property specifically to consolidate it into one lot of record. The Milwaukee Mile project is still in here. It's concept area 5. With should racing ever go away at the Milwaukee Mile, what would we want to do with that 80 acres of land? And this was a similar concept that was pitched back in 2011. But we want to take a look at daylighting, or actually creating a water feature, daylighting the Honey Creek potentially, and then developing around that with Riverwalk, pedestrian paths, and mixed uses. So that's what it is today. And this is what it could look like, artists rendering here in the future. And all these buildings are the same looking, but obviously they wouldn't be in real life if developed that way. So there's a lot, you'll see a lot of the same things, but then there's also, a few tweaks. And, obviously the 70th Street corridor is another one of those areas where over the past, 9 to 10 years, there's been quite a bit of evolution in that area, north of Greenfield, south of the city limits, with the Alice Yards project, the removal, demolition of the East Office building. Whitnall Summit continues to be a prosperous business park development, and we've experienced new developments and new tenants within that facility over time. Motor castings is another area of interest. So, I mean, there's really not a lot, Wayne, other than maybe some new pictures and maybe some, updates, but we're really focusing on, some continued work that we have within those 27 different areas as part of this plan.
You may have answered this earlier, Steve, but I'll ask the question anyway. At the time we did the 2010 plan, there was a fairly large committee, diverse committee of people from the Plan Commission, from the Common Council, citizens, blah, blah, blah. Quite a group that gathered under somebody's leadership to really drill down and look at the plan that was put together for 2010. Is that same process envisioned this time?
Not as part of this route, because it's really just more of a format and house cleaning update. But however, as part of the next round of updates, once we get the census data and we start to dial that in and look at it closer, there will be subsequent updates to this plan for a future horizon, and that will involve a much bolder public participation element of getting people involved, like the steering committee you mentioned and all their persons and committees.
When would that happen?
We're looking at probably somewhere in the next five or so years. I mean, it's going to be probably at least a year, I would guess, before we have census information.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I'm just going to copy my notes here. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Item 10 is carried. Thank you.
Thanks for the overview, Steve.
Sure, you're welcome.
And then we'll move on to supplemental item S1, I believe it is.
Yeah, Aaron, let me just queue up your presentation here. Or the staff report. Did everyone have a chance to glance at the Aaron's write-up for this item on 91st Street? Okay, let's see. Okay, Aaron Scharf is new to the planning and zoning team. She's come to us from building inspections, and she's our zoning administrator and business process liaison. She's worked with the owner, the new owner of the property at 809 South 91st Street, and they want to build a new home. So I'll turn it over to Erin from here.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. This gal, she is building her first home. She already lives in West Dallas in an apartment, and she's been working hard to build her new home over on 92nd Street. And just to make note that I think in the public agenda that was sent out, it was 801 and it should have been 809 South 91st, but we did have the correct tax key. So just want to announce that. After the overall overview of zoning and planning, the architectural style is fits in with the neighborhood. The lot coverage is appropriate. She's well within the 40% that's required by the code. However, the code states in section 12.12 that we require 25% green space for new construction homes. But taking a look at some of these lots that are smaller, where we have these pockets where there may have been a home at one point, or people are selling off double lots that they had, more and more people are scooping these up to build on them. And we would like to make an exception and recommend staff that the Plan Commission approves a variance for less than the 25% green space required. As it does fit in with the neighborhood, you'll see the plat of survey that they submitted with the proposed dwelling and proposed garage. Along with below that is the site plan. I just did a little aerial view to kind of show you proportionally where everything's sort of going to sit compared to the other homes on the block.
Okay. So I guess we're asking the Planning Commission for their acceptance of.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Wayne and Brian show continues. Any discussion on the motion?
Very nice, Mayor.
If there's no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, our supplemental is approved. So that concludes our business tonight. Before we leave, I have to do a little roast with some unfortunate news, but good news in the big picture. Bad for our city, good for our world. Katie Bennett, who you have come to know was one of our planners, is, do you want to spill the beans, Katie, or should I keep talking?
You can keep talking.
You're not
All right.
leaving, Katie. You can't leave.
She has accepted a job in Duluth, so this is going to be her last Plan Commission meeting, and she is going to be totally missed, and I have totally enjoyed working with her. Her vision, her ideas, her energy has been so refreshing, and it's really a win for Duluth, which is now on my radar to check out sometime because I don't think I've been there since I was a child. But I really just want to thank her for her years with the city and wish her all the best. And I've really just loved working with her, and hope to stay in touch. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Steve, or if Katie, you have anything you want to say.
Ari, yeah, you said it well. We're really going to miss you, Katie, and you've added value to our world up here in development and now planning and zoning and economic development. So thank you for all you do. You're a fun person too. You like to do cool stuff like biking and hiking, camping. So you'll be in your element in Duluth, not far from all that wonder. So yeah, stay in touch, and we'll definitely miss you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, I don't know, it's been an honor to work here and be a part of this. So I don't want to cry in a recorded YouTube video, so I'm just going to keep it short. But
And none of us do.
I will miss all of you very much too.
You've been outstanding, Katie. I've enjoyed working with you, and I think this is a real loss.
Yeah. Congrats. I never actually got to meet you in person. Maybe.
Yes, congrats. I hope you enjoy that up there. And if you don't, I'm sure there's always a spot back down here.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
If anyone's ever up there, give me a call. We'll go grab a beverage somewhere.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, then we are up to adjournment. Does anybody care to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
So motion by Brian,
Second.
second by Rossi. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 All opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. And Katie, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
When do you move, Katie?